Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor YouTube Live. My name is Brandon Drumm. I'm here with Parker Thune, and we are here to talk some Oklahoma football, recruiting, gymnastics won a national title, women's won a national title this past week. Oklahoma softball lost their first game in how many was it? I know they were 36-0 going into that game, but they had won, I can't remember how many games in a row. Wasn't it like 40 something?
Yeah, it was 40 something.
Yeah, I stopped. I lost track after. Hey, I'm still going to go out on a limb here and say they're going to win the national title. If I was a betting man, that's going to be my bet. Hot take. I'm here for the hot takes, folks. Yeah, it is football time in Oklahoma as the spring game starts this weekend for the Sooners. Baker Mayfield's statue will be revealed at halftime. And there will be hordes and hordes of recruits and hordes of alumni, and not just alumni, all pros, Hall of Famers, all of them will be in Norman to have a big party, a big collective shindig where past meets present and potentially the future of Oklahoma Sooners football in Norman. So it is a big week for Oklahoma Sooners football. They were off today. They're practicing again tomorrow. We will get to do some post. We'll get the offense tomorrow. Thursday, we'll get the defense post practice. And hopefully we'll get one more live because I was out of town. And then previously before I was knocked up in and out of the doctor, the hospital, all that type of stuff. So it was a rough go health wise. And we were kind of told at 6:00 in the morning last week on a Friday, on Good Friday, when everybody kind of stayed home, slept in, and at 6:00 in the morning we get, hey, guess what? You can come watch practice at 9. Bro, I was sleeping. That was the one time we and it happened.
I was already in Nebraska. I rolled over in bed and saw that email, and I was like, oh, this would be great if I hadn't driven home yesterday afternoon.
Oh my gosh, it was just such bad timing. It is what it is. But hey, Parker, we'll get to what I did this weekend, the 7-on-7 tournament in Durant. I'm actually pimping a C4. My kid's a C4 quarterback, so I actually was wearing that today. Yeah, how was your trip to Nebraska? How was Easter Sunday? How was it, man? I know you spent time with the family. We talked briefly, but we didn't talk that much.
Yeah, I mean, Easter is one of my favorite weekends of the year. It's really the one weekend of the year, and I mentioned this on the board, where I don't really feel bad about slowing down, tapping the brakes, and just devoting my full attention to family for a couple of days. So It's nice to be able to do that. Obviously, back to full throttle today. I've already collected several intriguing VIP notes that will be posted on ouinsider.com either late tonight or tomorrow morning, depending on what else comes up, because that also is the nature of our job, Brandon. Timetables can go out the window in a heartbeat, depending on what transpires, what calls you get. But no, Easter weekend was awesome. And obviously now all the focus turns toward the spring game on April 23rd. And taking a look at what this team really looks like in conjunction with one another in a real competitive exhibition environment at game speed, rather than what we've seen in practice, which has been fantastic to have that access in practice. It's been unprecedented access, at least over the course of the time that I've covered the team. But you don't really get an idea of what you're dealing with regard to a football team until they hit the field in an environment like this, where everybody's going full speed 100%. And if you're not, well, there are 3 people waiting on the sideline ready to trot in for you. So I think this weekend will tell us a lot. I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing who stands out, because there's always a couple dudes that really shoot onto the radar if they haven't already throughout the duration of spring practice. And for the OU Insider VIPs that pay for the monthly subscription, they know all of the players behind the scenes, Brandon, that are making waves and that we've reported on. But Saturdays when everybody gets to see, okay, this dude's a baller. Okay, maybe this dude was a little overhyped. This guy might be a work in progress. regardless, there's going to be a lot that comes out of this weekend that I think will be compelling for Sooner Nation, not just in terms of individual standouts, but in terms of how these units gel as a whole. Tomorrow's installment of the Oklahoma drill on this very YouTube channel will feature 5 players on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, that I've really pinpointed and put a red eye on as guys that I'm going to be watching especially closely come Saturday when the Sooners hit the field.
Yeah, it's going to be a big day. I know there's been a couple of comments about this.
What is that?
I broke my finger roughhousing with the kids. So
no, that would explain it.
You can see it, dude. It's like, it hurts so bad. It's crooked as a question mark right now. Oh, it's rough, man. It keeps me up at night. It hurts so bad right now, but you can't do much with the broken fingers, so there's no use. Anyways, yeah. Dude, I'm excited I think, to see the fans' reaction to Dylan. Gabriel, I'm excited to see the fans' reaction to Venable's defense, because it's kind of one of those deals where it's a catch-22, because if Dylan goes out there and just torches the defense, right, and Farouk goes off, and say Eric Gray, Javonte Barnes, Theo Weiss, like all those guys just have phenomenal games, Braden Willis, it's going to look like Venable's defense is just awful. And everybody's going to go, oh, no, it's because he had such good players at Clemson. The players aren't as good in Norman, which to an extent, I guess you can say they weren't as ballyhooed as some of the players on the defensive side of the ball that they have at Clemson. But to say the cupboard is bare or there's not a lot of NFL talent on the Oklahoma Sooners defense is a horrible take, number one. And that's kind of where we get, and there's always going to be that star, that guy that everybody like. You fans remember Estes, the former running back in the early 2000s? Was it like Jared Estes or something like that? I can't remember. And he would always go off during the spring game. He was a scholarship running back, number 33, and he would just go off on the spring, so everybody had like these delusions of grandeur, how good he was going to be going in. But they always trotted out Kewan Jones, no matter what. It was like, or Quentin Griffin. They were always that guy. So there's going to be that. I'm trying to think, who was the star
last year?
Well, last year it was Caleb. I remember that.
Yes,
Caleb
last year was
off.
definitely Caleb. And on the defensive side, it was probably Jordan Mukes, honestly.
Correct. It was Jordan Mukes. Remember, everybody loved, oh my goodness, what a pickup that was. And it's probably going to be a really good pickup. He's got NFL talent. He just has to put some things together mentally and really start focusing and being more consistent. And once that happens, he has a chance to be, a day 1, day 2 type guy because of his speed, his athleticism, his length. He's ridiculously long. And I think that's what fans, they also love it because he looks the part too, right? Like he looks the part. I'm trying to think of other guys that just happen to have massive spring games and then just kind of don't show up during the season. And that's going to happen. Somebody's going to have a massive spring game and they're not going to be around to do much during the season because they aren't consistent. So you can put stock in the spring game, but you don't want to put too much stock in it, if that makes sense, especially because we don't know the format yet. They haven't explained to us what the format's going to be. And we're hoping it's better than what Riley rolled out, Muleshoe, over the last 5 years. Because that was just
last year was the worst spring game in the history of spring games.
It was awful.
I'll just go ahead and say
it. It was awful. I think the 2019 one at night on a Friday was legit. I think that was funny. You had Rattler, you had obviously Jalen Hurts. Everybody got to see it. They were allowing them to go like when they scored touchdowns to do celebrations, and they were having fun, and it made for a good time for the fans.
Rattler wouldn't have played in that spring game, had he?
Not Rattler.
Mordecai,
not Rattler. Mordecai. 2020 was Rattler. And they didn't even do it. So it didn't matter. But yeah, Mordecai is what I meant. But yeah, they got to celebrate. They got to have some fun. And I think that's what made it unique. And I hope they allow them to have fun. They allow them to celebrate. I also like the 2018 version where they had Gerald McCoy and Adrian Peterson as the honorary coaches. I thought that was really cool when they did that. So I'm interested to see what the format's going to be like with all the big alumni back, if they don't kind of incorporate them into the game. I don't know. But if you could pick one thing, I think that's a really good subject to talk about. One thing for a spring game to have each and every year to make it more interesting, what would it be for you, Parker?
I don't think a spring game is something you really need to make interesting. I think the best spring games are the ones where you just split the teams up and play a game of football, and don't get cute with the scoring system. Don't get cute with the game structure. Just play 60 minutes of ball and split your guys up however you see fit. But just conduct it like a regular football game. I think that's the type of thing that engages the fans most, because they're accustomed to seeing 60 minutes of ball at Owen Field. And I think that's what the vast majority of them will want to see when they show up on Saturday. And obviously, we don't know the exact parameters of what we're going to see. And to a certain extent, you have to kind of game the system a little bit, because when you're talking about quarterbacks wearing non-contact jerseys and those types of things, there's things that need to change. And it appears that, again, I have disappeared off the screen here, because Lord knows we cannot make it through a YouTube live without this happening. But no, I think the best ones are the simplest ones in my eyes. The best ones are the simplest ones. I was not a fan of the structure last year. I'm not a fan of any similar structure. Just play football the old school way.
Right. So, interestingly enough, everybody's kind of commenting on they're talking about Rattler. Well, one, they're talking about Jordan Mukes and his height. I think he's listed at 6'2" now, right? And not 6'1", right? I believe that's
he's
correct.
listed at 6'2".
Yeah, that 6'1" is I think 6'2" is a little shy for him too. That's one of those weird deals where
I guess somebody must have hit him on the head with a pile driver before spring
I know,
ball last
right?
year.
Before he showed up. Yeah, they had him at 6'1" last year. They have him 6'2" this year. He's a legit 6'3", folks. Like, I don't understand how they screw him over every year on height. Everybody else gets like an extra half inch, and they like make him shorter. It's like the biggest conundrum. I don't know, man. But I kind of agree with you on the simplicity of the format. I think people just want to see football. They want to see dudes flying around and hitting. And obviously you can't hit the quarterback. You don't want to hit Dylan Gabriel. So you're going to be really picky. I don't think we're going to get to see I don't think this is even a hot take, honestly. You're not going to get to see very much of the offense. You're not going to get to see Dylan Gabriel run like he's going to run during the season in Levy's offense. But with that said, Javonte Barnes, Eric Gray, Marcus Major, if he can get healthy and he's not on the bike still, I think if they can figure out how to get all three of those guys going, I think that'll make for a good viewing for the fans, because that means the line is being physical, not just offensive line, but defensive line. I think you'll get to see them get physical with each other. And I think that's something fans want to see. Obviously they want to see a big play, but you don't want to see too many of those, because that's a bad omen on your defensive backs, right? So there's a balance of how this thing needs to go, and you can't control it because the players obviously have to play the game. But I think if fans could pick, I think they would want to see 3 or 4 big plays. They would want to see a couple of big runs by the running backs, 3 or 4, and a couple of passing TDs. And then obviously a turnover or 2 forced by the defense to kind of show the progress the defense is making, right?
Oh boy. If you get a turnover, if they pick off Dylan Gabriel, he's going to get,
he can't play.
He's going to get duct taped to a pole by half the fan base, in effect. because
Yes.
that's the thing about spring games too, Brandon, is they're as much of a lose-lose as they are a win-win. There's always going to be something to critique.
That's my point.
If the
Yeah.
offense outperforms the defense, the narrative for half the fan base becomes, well, the defense sucked. And if the defense outperforms the offense, the narrative from half the fan base becomes, are we going to score a point this year?
Yeah. No, I mean that's my point is there's a balance to this and you can't really control it. You can try to do your best, but the players ultimately have to perform. And I think if they can make it as much of a game-like atmosphere as they possibly can, I think the coolest thing would be is to have the band come out and do the actual pregame. You know what I mean? Like they would do during the season. I think that would be really cool because I think it would lead to the ambiance for not just the fans, but the recruits. If you want to show them as close to an atmosphere as you possibly can get to an OU football game, the band has to be involved somehow, some way. And I think you have them come out, you have them warm up. You know, I honestly, you know what I know? I think the biggest thing that could be done in college football, as far as spring goes, is to create spring game matchups where you have a big spring game. Each team gets a home game. Each team gets an away game. They get 30 practices instead of 15, and they get a home and away. So maybe they host OU hosts Arkansas one weekend, and the next weekend they go and they play Texas A&M down in College Station or something like that, just for spring. And there'd have to be rules, and you know you couldn't hit the quarterback and all that type of stuff. But to have opposing teams out there, I think would bring so much more value to the spring game, and you would get a better look. You'd have a better feel for what your team actually is too. Would you agree with that?
I think so. Yeah.
Do you
I would
think
say
that'll
there's some
ever
merit to
happen?
Well, that's the bigger question,
Yeah.
because we can come up with a million different concepts that we think would improve a spring game. The question is, will the people with the power to make the change actually implement it? So I don't know. I think it's one of those deals where no doubt a Brent Venables spring game is going to have its, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to have its unique aspects. It's going to have its distinctions from a Lincoln Riley spring game. So we'll have to see what that looks like. And I would tend to believe that once we find out what it looks like on April 23rd, it won't change much in subsequent years.
No, I agree. People are talking about, the tough spring games some of those guys had, some of the big name quarterbacks had, like I believe it was Chris Lohman who said Jason Sam, Baker Kyler, they all struggled before their best seasons. I agree. The Kyler thing, though, was interesting because that spring game, if people remember that 2018 spring game when they had Jaden Hazelwood, that was like the big visit weekend. That was your Gerald McCoy and Adrian Peterson were honorary head coaches for the red versus the white. And they had like 9 commits that weekend. And I think OU ended up signing like 4 of them at the end of the day.
Wasn't that the weekend RJ Henderson committed?
It was RJ Henderson. It was it RJ? Is that his name?
Yeah,
it was RJ Henderson. RJ Henderson, Theo Weiss. Trying to think who Trajan Bridges all committed that weekend. Obviously they showed up. The transfer, one of the top transfer defensive linemen in the country, committed to Oklahoma, ended up flipping to Georgia. And then Jaden Hazelwood was there, silented to Oklahoma, and then didn't announce till January. And then, oh my gosh, who else committed that weekend? There was a lot. That was a 2019 class that was just stellar, by the way. But people forget cold front blew in, because the day before it was nice and hot and sunny, and a cold front blew through the night before the game. So there was like 40-mile-per-hour winds. It was like 45 degrees outside, and still there was 50-something thousand people in the stands. So everybody was hyped about that still happened. But man, did the offense look bad. Oh, it looked bad. And do you remember who the two standouts were during the spring game? defensively? Does anybody remember who the two standouts defensively, the 2018 spring game, who the standouts were?
I do
I want to
not.
see if there's anybody in the comments, comment and see if because I want to read and see if y'all know. This is a good question because it's two. One never really got to. He never got to make an impact at all at Oklahoma and transferred. The other one ended up starting for 3 seasons at OU and transferred to a Pac-12.
Oh, well, I know who you're talking about right there. I know who number 2 is.
Bobby Monaco. You are correct. Levi Draper. Everybody thought he was the second coming because he ended up having, remember he had like 9 tackles, like 2 tackles for losses and a sack and I think an interception. He dominated that game, played really well. And then he looked like he was going to be the starter. Everybody was talking about it. The coaches were talking about it and his shoulders went out on him and nothing ever happened because of that. Talk about what could have been. That's a talent that just never really got going due to injuries. So yeah, that is right. Levi and Buki, correct. So
Levi and Buki.
yeah, and TJ Pledger was the offensive guy. That is correct. Anyways, so who do you think has the big game? Let's do that. Let's pick who has the big game here this weekend. Offense, one guy on offense, one guy on defense. I'll go first.
Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
going to throw Dylan Gabriel, I think, is a given. We both could pick that. So I'm throwing, he is not allowed to be picked.
Disregard.
Fair enough. Disregard Dylan Gabriel. We'll throw that one out. Any of the quarterbacks, we're throwing them out because that's an easy pick. Too easy. I am going to go with Jalil Farouk and I know this is so easy. Danny Stutzman. Way to go out on a limb, Drumm.
I mean, those look, you're going to be right. I think.
No.
I don't think there's any question you're going to be right. Those aren't the sexiest answers, but
no,
they're in all likelihood 2 correct ones. I feel like I've been the conductor on the Javonte Barnes hype train for upwards of a year now. So I almost have to say Javonte Barnes, especially with how much
I left him for you.
Yeah.
He was going to be my pick, but I left him.
Especially with how many good things we've heard about him this spring. That's a guy that I would expect is going to show everybody something on Saturday. And those that don't know are going to find out with Javonte Barnes.
Defensively, right about
yeah. Defensively, it's going to be somebody we don't expect. I can promise you that. It's going to be somebody we don't expect. I think, and this isn't like the most unexpected answer of all time, but I think it's going to be Trey Morrison, the North Carolina transfer.
That's a good pick, though.
I don't know that people are talking about him enough. And obviously, Key Lawrence, deservedly so, gets plenty of buzz. Woody Washington has been outstanding this spring. Kenai Walker has been outstanding. Jordan Mukes is another guy that we're hearing really good things about. Trey Morrison, I feel like, was kind of the guy that folks were buzzing about him at the beginning of spring practice. And then it just kind of became a case of, well, you know what you're getting with Trey Morrison. Maybe right. He just doesn't look as impressive day to day in practice because he started 44 games in his career at North Carolina, and people just expect him to be good at his position and be good at his role in the defense. So I think if there were 2 guys I had to pinpoint on defense, I'll go ahead and go 2 transfers, Trey Morrison, and then up front, Jonah Laulu, the Hawaii transfer. I think those 2 guys could be poised to open some eyes this weekend.
Yeah, I guess if we want to add, I'll say I think Braden Willis has a good game. I think he catches a couple of passes, and I'm gonna defensively. I actually think that Jalen Redmond and Ethan Downs and Jeffrey Johnson kind of have. I think they flash. I don't want to say like because the defensive line is so hard because if they get back in the backfield, it's they can't really grab the quarterback and sack him and all that. And There's a lot of not playing to the ground sometimes on some tackles to blow a quick whistle. I don't know that Venables will do that, but under Riley, that's what we're used to seeing. So I'm going to go off of what we're used to seeing. And so I think the defensive line is going to be really hard. I just heard so much about Jeffrey Johnson and so much about Ethan Downs that it's hard to not think about them. And we've heard a lot about Jordan Kelly and how consistent he's graded out and all that type of stuff, but he does the right things. He's in the right place at the right time, and people are taking notice of that. But I was told if the big play on defensive line, it has been Downs, it has been Jeffrey Johnson, it has been Redmond, and it's been Lulu. So Lua. So I think those guys, they have a chance. This defensive line has a chance to be pretty special, I think. And that's kind of, have you heard that, like that kind of buzz, that feel like the people in the program feel really good about that front. And that's odd to say when you're losing Isaiah Thomas, Perion Winfrey, and Nick Benito, to come back from that and still go, it might be better. It might be better overall. That shows you how well the previous staff recruited, but it also shows you how well Venables' staff came in and really filled in some gaps with some elite level talent on that defensive side of the ball. And not only that, everybody wanted Jeffrey Johnson and Lulua. So they did. Everybody, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, they all offered them. Clemson, Florida, you name it, they were offered by the elite of the elite to come play for them, and they chose Oklahoma. So, and those, you see how quiet those guys are? They kind of fit the mold of what this program is. Because remember how hard it was for us to gather information, as it normally is with JUCO, with transfer guys. But I think recruiting wise, as we dive into recruiting real quick, is going to be a lot like that, where, I was just talking to somebody today, and the OU staff, much like the OU fans, they're just ready for that one thing to break that iceberg, to get that momentum going, that crack. There's a crack there, and chipping away at that crack in that iceberg, but it's got to break at some point. And when it breaks, they think it's going to break, and it's going to break for good. And so there's an expectation that maybe the spring game can start to really help the water flow a little bit more smoothly through that iceberg as it melts. But, oh man, I know OU fans are first, but if you look across the board, I think that's something we need to talk about in recruiting. A lot of the big name programs aren't getting commits right now. Like, they may get one here, one there.
You mean it's not just Oklahoma, Brandon?
Oh man, go look at it. Like, how many people have more? How many of the big names have more than like 6 commits?
You don't say. I'm glad somebody brought it up on the board earlier. Alabama last year had 2 commits prior to July 1st. They turned out okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oklahoma didn't get the ball rolling till June, if people remember correctly.
Look at the top 10 right now in the 2023 recruiting rankings. You have Texas Tech number 1. Lord knows that's not going to hold. Also,
they have an 87 average.
Yeah. Also within the top 10, you have Louisville, Baylor, and Colorado. None of those teams are going to be sniffing the final top 10. Okay, Baylor maybe, certainly not Louisville and Colorado. Everything's going to regress the mean. Everything is going to even out, and it's all going to come out in the wash. This is the way these things go. It's just something that folks are going to have to reconcile with and get to the point where they're willing to not freak out when Oklahoma isn't at the top of the food chain in the month of April as far as recruiting. Things are going to stay stagnant. We've been saying this for months now, Brandon, is that things were going to stay stagnant until probably about May or June. And in May or June, that was when you'd start to see the ball rolling downhill. That's when you pick up a couple of early commits, and those are the guys that are going to help set the table for the rest that come after them. And I don't know how many times it needs to be reiterated, but Brent Venables' recruiting philosophy was never conducive to a surge on the recruiting trail in March and April. It just wasn't and isn't.
Nope. You're right. And I know people, we'll jump back into recruiting real quick. Cause I'm reading the comments, guys, as you're saying. So I'm trying to respond to you guys and get, some Parker and I to banter about some of the things you guys are talking about. And I hope that helps you flow. So we may jump back and forth a little bit, but we're jumping back and forth with you all through the comments. So I hope that makes sense. Somebody said Jalen Redmond hasn't shown them much since he's been in Norman.
What?
Compared to the hype.
What?
So let's clear this up real quick. He had how many sacks last year and he missed how many games? Like, how many sacks did he have last year?
I don't
Was
remember.
it 4? He had 4.5 or 5, right? Like,
yeah,
I can't remember. Right? He led the team in 2019, played half the season
as a redshirt freshman.
As a redshirt freshman, led the team with almost 7 sacks, 6.5. He played 1 game, I think, in 2019 or 3 games. I can't. He didn't play much, but I remember in the games that he played in 2019 before he had a relapse with the blood clots, he was dominant. So he is dominant when he plays. He's shown plenty. He's lived up to the hype. It's the problem is that he's been hurt. And if he can just stay healthy for one season, my man Sean Stapleton, Mr. Negativity, came out and said it. He goes, if Jalen Redmond can stay healthy, he will be a first rounder. That is probably correct.
And people have been saying this for years, Brandon. I can remember folks, credible people in NFL draft circles in the spring of 2020 saying that if Jalen Redmond were to have another season in 2020 that was statistically similar and that built upon the campaign that he had in 2019, he would be a first round pick if he decided to enter the 2021 NFL draft. Obviously, he sat out the 2020 season because he was concerned about the effects of COVID-19 with regard to the blood clotting issues that he'd had in the
shoulder
which
issues too,
which is understandable. But my point is, if that's where folks in NFL draft circles stood with regard to Jalen Redmond's long-term ceiling after 1 season in Norman, the season he put up in 2019, just wait for that dude to be healthy for a full season. Just wait till he plays all 13 games because he is special. And the statistics are going to back that up. The numbers are going to back that up.
No, yeah, I agree 100%. But okay, we'll go back to the recruiting real quick now, since you get there. I don't understand what's going on. I'm totally lost on the argument now on the chat. So, anyways, Oklahoma hosted Samuel Omosigo today. Omosigo. Yeah. Omosigo.
That's what we're going with.
Omosigo.
By the way,
yeah. So
on that note,
I talked to him a bit. Did you talk to him? I talked to him for a bit.
Yeah, I also talked to him. But on that note, I also found out I've been saying PJ Adebawore's name wrong this entire time.
Mm-hmm.
It's Adebawore. So
Adebawore.
It's like
that's so much easier than Adebawore. Yeah.
I know. And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm pronouncing this right, but I'm going to do some internet digging to make sure I'm pronouncing this right over the weekend. And lo and behold, I managed to find an old Northwestern media guide because his older brother plays at Northwestern. And it is indeed Adebawore, which is, yes, way easier.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. And go ahead and talk about that because he skyrocketed. Look, we didn't have any new rankings come out, but this dude jumped in the top 150 out of nowhere after his, what was it? The Under Armour kind of, what was the camp called? I can't remember.
Yeah, Under Armour underclassmen report.
Next camp. Yeah, underclassmen report. Yeah. So go for it. Yeah, talk about and talk about where OU stands with him. And I'll talk about Cole Adams here in a minute. So,
leaving the folks with a cliffhanger there.
Mm-hmm.
That's we're gonna have to get to that because that whole situation.
Interesting.
There appears to be some movement there. Now on PJ Adebawore, I actually was just on the phone with him earlier tonight, And here's what I can say. For those that saw his new ranking within the top 24/7, as Brandon said, the 24/7 Sports Rankings Council did not release new rankings. It was the type of thing where Alan True and several of the other national analysts looked at what he did last week at the Under Armour Next Camp and said, you know what? We need to find room for this guy somewhere on the high end of the spectrum. And so he comes in at number 104 in the nation, regardless of position today with the rankings update, and is the country's number 11 edge. Like this might have sounded absurd as recently as like 3 months ago, but there is a chance that dude pushes for 5-star status by the end of the cycle, because with the rise he just made in conjunction with the reality that he's only played 1 year of defense and the opportunity that he will have as a senior on a stacked North Kansas City defensive line to wreak utter havoc. Yeah, I mean, I said it last week. I think he's top 100 easily by the end of the cycle. I didn't realize a week later he'd already be knocking on the door of top 100 status. But this is a guy that's going to rise and rise quickly. I'm going to have to pull the receipts on whatever people said that Oklahoma was stupid to offer this kid when he was a 3-star, because he is quite obviously he is not a 3-star. But as far as where OU sits in this race, they have done the best job recruiting PJ to date. Now, Georgia's in the mix. He was there this past weekend. I was in the mix. He'll be there this coming weekend. He's going to get down to Arkansas at a certain point. And as of right now, it's really his top 4. That's his top tier. And he acknowledged to me he may not take all 5 official visits. Now, to me, that's a really strong indicator that he feels really comfortable with the options he's got on the table, most notably Oklahoma. And if everything feels like a fit there, as long as his parents are comfortable with the campus environment, that's going to be the spot. Now, again, when you have Georgia in the mix as the defending national champions, that is always a situation you got to approach with a healthy degree of caution. But I will say this, Oklahoma's fan base can be the deciding factor in this recruitment, because PJ is not making his decision based solely off of NIL, but that is something that's going to come into play. And more than anything else, he reiterates this to me every single time we're on the phone, man. He reiterates that I want to go somewhere that I feel wanted. I want to go somewhere that wants me. Right now, he feels wanted at Oklahoma, not just by the coaching staff, but by the fan base. And he's acknowledged to me that when he puts something out on social media about OU, or a visit picture or a graphic he gets from the coaching staff, whatever the case may be, it generates so much more interaction with OU fans than anything Georgia related will generate with the Georgia fan base, or Iowa related will generate with the Hawkeye fan base. So those are the kinds of hairs that you're splitting in this race for PJ's commitment. And Oklahoma has the upper hand right now. I felt confident enough that I think it's been 3 weeks now since I dropped that crystal ball in favor of the Sooners. This is one that they lead for the moment. And at this point, it's all about maintaining. And I think that they're equipped to maintain.
How long is he going to take to make a decision, you think?
It'll be over before the end of the summer. I would anticipate that as soon as he's done with his officials, and like I was saying, he may not take all 5. He may take only 4. He may even take only 3. As soon as he feels comfortable, completely comfortable, and not just him, but his parents, he's going to pull the trigger. And everything's pointing in OU's direction right now, in my eyes, for PJ. Unless you see a surge from Georgia or Iowa. And even then, I'm not sure that would be a surge where Oklahoma doesn't have the capacity to stem the tide. I think he's going to be a Sooner. And my crystal ball prediction reflects that.
They have a chance to. I know people, with Adebawore and, Jordan Raynaud. I need to catch up with him again I've been meaning to. I keep telling myself, I need to call him or, reach back out to him. And I keep forgetting. But he's got a chance to be a really huge pickup for Oklahoma if that happens. if they can somehow pull Raynaud, Adebawore, by Job, and I'll talk about that. I think I'm going to go by and see him tomorrow. And I just talked to him down at, the 7-on-7 this past weekend, but just kind of I'll get a better feel when I'll just be, you're always rushed during that, and there's always people around you kind of hovering, so you can't ever get that real intimate talk where the walls are down and stuff like that. So I want to kind of get a better feel for Bai and where he's up to right now, because he just came back from Alabama and Vanderbilt. I was told Alabama and Georgia were probably the top 2 teams right now. Oklahoma's there. See if he's going to visit for the spring game. I know his family would like him to visit for the spring game. I know people around him would love for him to go up the spring game, and not just for the Oklahoma aspect of it, but more so because they want him to meet all of these all pros, and because he has so much to learn about the game, being so green and so fresh, only playing a year and a half, and to have those type of connections being built early in his career. And those type of guys, when you meet those pro guys, they've been through the process, right? They're not going to try to force a kid to go to OU. They're just going to talk to him man to man and say, look, this is what you need to look for. This is how I did it. Blah, blah. Everybody's path is different, but they can help you lay a foundation, how you make a decision. And you can take what you like from those type of guys. You can take what you like, what you learn from their game, and, all that type of stuff, and build it into your own little niche. And that's kind of where they're coming from. The people around him are coming from, and they would love for him to go do. So I don't know. We have some spam naked HD person commenting on our chat. How funny is that?
Interesting.
So I'm going to go see Bai. I'm going to see Jacoby Johnson. He's going to be at the spring game potentially. He said he's going to be there. Now, whether he ends up with another AAU tournament or whatnot, I don't know. If I'm him, I go to the spring game over the AAU tournament, just because you're going to have so many more AAU tournaments. How many times are you going to get to see all these? That's my deal with like these kids. And I'm always like, man, like, and this is why I would tell my son the same thing if he ever got that chance, either one of them. If they ever got that chance, I would be like, look, if you have a chance to go pick the brains of, say, Alabama was wanting them to come down, and, maybe Tua was there, or Jalen was there, or I don't know, Bryce Young is back and visiting, or he's getting a statue or whatever, and this is all hypotheticals or whatever. I would want them to go pick their brain and listen to him over, some sort of obscure 7-on-7 tournament or AAU tournament. Would you not, Parker, over that? Like, go learn from the people that have done it over those tournaments.
It kind of depends on what your priorities are, but
right.
Yeah, in general, I would tend to agree with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just how I've always felt about it. If you have a chance to learn from the greats, you do it. Like, if I had a chance to go learn from Dan Patrick, or I don't know, I mean, so I grew up on Stuart Scott. I mean, if I had a chance to go learn from those guys, heck yeah, I'd be there in a heartbeat, no matter what. So I guess that's the best analogy I can make. So Bai could potentially be at the spring game. Jacoby says he's going to be there. We'll see if he has an AAU tournament or not. That's always been kind of the holdup there. The other thing is Cole Adams. Everyone wants to talk about Cole Adams.
Oh, here we go, baby.
Cole Adams. So he's going to visit tomorrow, he says. He's coming down to Norman. Things have been moving a little bit more fluid for him in Oklahoma. And it's always been kind of the deal where Cole has said, I'm not going down there until they offer. Well, he is going to make the trip. And it's kind of like, who was going to flinch first? Because Oklahoma's going, we're not going to offer until you come down, So it's like, it was like at a standstill, like a stare off, right? And I think they both kind of compromised and met in them. I just cannot get over this thing. This pointer. But I think they kind of met in the middle, and we'll see where it goes from there. If he gets an offer, I think things could be brewing there, because he has a committable offer at Alabama and all these other places that he's been. They're committable offers, and yet he hasn't pulled the trigger. Why is that? Why is that? And for me, I think it's because deep down, he always has wanted to be a Sooner. Now, has he come out and said that? 100%? No.
No.
I know one thing he did say to me one time was, they haven't offered me because they think I would commit automatically. And he had that in his head. Like that was why. And that may be true. He may just want to, I don't know. But the composite 4-star wide receiver is going to be in Norman tomorrow. We will see where that goes from there, because I find that very interesting. There's been a lot of buzz that an offer could be coming soon, but we've been hearing that for months. So at this point, I'm just like, I don't want to come out and say outright that that's going to happen, because we've been saying it's going to happen soon for months, and nothing has ever come about, Parker. So, I mean, I've talked to him about the visit. He's going to call me after the trip tomorrow. So I don't know. I mean, what's your take on this whole ordeal too? Because it's been different. It's been a different little ride for Cole in Oklahoma.
No, it has been. And I think from where I say, it's been a lot of sifting through smoke, and it's been hard to separate fact from fiction at times. And it's kind of always felt like you're right. It has kind of always felt like it was kind of going to be, who flinches first. Does he visit first? Does Oklahoma offer first? Now, here's what I do know from conversations with folks close to the program is that there was not really much of a strong push to get Cole Adams on campus up until about 2 weeks ago. And then there was a meeting of the minds in essence. And here's like what I've been told is that Brent Venables is a guy that very much wants Cole Adams in Norman, Oklahoma. And so after that meeting of the minds, there was an increased effort made to get Adams on a visit. And obviously that manifested in the visit that's on the schedule for tomorrow, Tuesday. And I fully expect he's going to have the Oklahoma offer by this time tomorrow. I do. I think if he leaves campus without the offer, then you can pretty much close the book on this whole thing.
I agree with that.
That bridge is burned at this point. But again, I don't think that's happening. I think he will have the offer in hand by tomorrow at this time. And if he doesn't, like, I don't know. I don't know why anyone.
Are you CBing him the second he gets an offer?
No, I'm not.
Do you think there's a chance that he just turns around and commits after the offer? Because the only reason why he's coming down for this practice because he has prom this weekend, so he couldn't make the spring game. So do you think he goes ahead and just commits? Because they've been talking, like, it's not like Oklahoma. They haven't had communication the whole time.
Yeah, they've been talking the whole time. A while. But
right.
Is it a possibility? Yes. Is that what I think will happen? No. I think Oklahoma instantly becomes a top contender, if not the overall front runner for Adams. But here's like, in the conversations I've had with him since he took that Alabama visit, like, I think that's a place he really wants to get back to. And I understand the allure of the in-state blue blood at Oklahoma, but I also don't think OU is going to be completely out of the woods with Alabama. I'm not 100% sold on OU if he gets the offer. So again, like, as soon as they make the offer, smart money's on OU. What's that?
Go Dean Blevins. What's your percentage? Different type of cat.
Oh man. I would say my percentage is probably 60% OU, 30% Alabama, 10% anybody else. I think the save money is on OU if they make the offer. But
I'll go 75.
Like I said, I don't think they're completely out of the woods.
No, I'll go 75 to 80 just because it just seemed to me like if he was that sold on Alabama to be the school, he would have already done it, knowing what we know of Alabama and what they do. And because they just don't, Like he's visited Alabama. He's done everything that they've asked of him. They have high expectations for him. They've even said that, he could be one of the better slots that they've seen. Like they're highly, they Saban thinks highly of him with his speed, his athleticism, his catching, the toughness, just a gritty football player. He fits what Saban looks for outside of obviously he doesn't have the length that you would like, but everything else is there. So I don't know. I think he'll go 75-80. I know, like I said, Dean's kind of pinpointed the percentage. That's kind of his deal, but we'll steal it for this YouTube live. Okay. Is there a commit that comes out of this weekend?
Yes. I think they get one this weekend.
Is it from Kansas running back?
No, I actually was just on the phone with him minutes before we got on air. No, I do not think he will be committing this weekend. I can tell you he'll be back in town for an OV though, and that's probably not news
an
to
official
anybody
visit.
That's been yes, on an official visit. So,
he's officialing this weekend.
He is not officialing this weekend. This is his third
It's
unofficial to Oklahoma.
Okay, so his official will be the Champ U, right?
Well, not quite sure. He doesn't have a date penciled in, but this is from what he told me, it's looking like this is going to be potentially his last unofficial visit. Nope, I take that back. He's got an unofficial visit on the books with Oregon in the next couple of weeks, but he's getting to the point where he's going to release his top schools list. He's going to take his officials, then he's going to commit. He is laser focused on the process and doing everything the way that he's mapped it out. So no, I don't think he commits this weekend. I do think Oklahoma is very solidly in the driver's seat as of right now. And from what I can gather, I think the only school that really has a chance to be the fly in the ointment is probably Oregon.
Mm-hmm. And people are saying Trey Wisner. They think he might commit. I don't. He wants to wait until October. He said he's got his mom's birthday. That's when that's supposed to happen. So, I need to check on Peyton Kirkland to see if that's a good question. He said he's coming. I need to recheck with him. That's my dude. I'll actually call him when we get off here. Sorry, guys. I'll have that information on the OU Insider board, though. So the VIP board. Get your questions in for us right now. If you have any questions that we can get to real quick, we'll go for about another 10 minutes and then we'll call it a wrap on this YouTube live. Okay. So Caden Green, he's going to be in town, is he not?
Caden Green will be in town. The rest of the Lee's Summit North crew will not. It's going to be just Caden Green this weekend.
Could he be a guy that just kind of just spur of the moment just goes, you know what, screw it. Everybody kind of knows I'm going to Oklahoma. I've been here for 7 times now, 8 counting the Champion Barbecue. Might as well just go ahead and do it. Could that be a possibility in your mind? Like, because he's changed things up. Like he keeps saying, I want to do it then, but everything keeps moving closer and closer. Could it be moving closer and closer to the point where he just goes, screw it. Like, what am I waiting for? Honestly, just like, because it's kind of a given, right? Like, am I being too presumptuous saying that?
Yes, he and his family are intent on taking all 5 officials. So I don't think that's going to change. I've gotten to know him and his parents very, very well, and they're not the type of people to act on an emotional impulse, even if it is the type of thing where he's already been to campus a half dozen times and has a good idea that Oklahoma is probably the landing spot. I still don't think that's the type of thing where they're going to pull the trigger without doing full diligence on all of the schools that they're considering. So I expect that he will take his 5 officials and decide sometime in June or July.
Okay.
And I would lean toward June at this point. I think it's going to be earlier in the summer than they were initially planning.
Oh, okay. So somebody asked if Omostigo's visit. Look, the visit went great.
Yeah.
He's sitting there and talked with Venable. Yeah, actually, OU leads. OU leads.
Yes.
I think it's very, very, very easy to say Oklahoma leads for Homosigo. So go ahead.
Now, caveat there. He has been getting he has been in rampant contact the last week or so with LSU and Texas A&M. And he told me those are offers that he anticipates getting. So that may cause the sands to shift a little bit. OU leads for the moment, but he's going to have some decisions to make. Up until about a week ago, it seemed that his OVs were going to be Oklahoma, Stanford, Florida, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. Among those five, it's pretty clear, right, that Oklahoma is the lead dog. But you throw LSU and A&M into the mix, well, they're going to have to be some tough decisions made, some schools cut from contention, and schools that don't get OVs. I will be interested to see if those offers do come, and if indeed they do come, how that alters things and how that shifts the sands in his recruitment. At this point, he's being recruited exclusively as an outside linebacker. That is something he passed along to me. Most schools that had been recruiting him as a wide receiver have pretty much pivoted and come to the realization that his ceiling is higher at the collegiate level as a linebacker. So we will see what becomes of that. But you're right, Brandon. Oklahoma leads right now.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where from my conversation with him today, I kind of got that sense too. He was very, very thrilled. I think, and this isn't to be religious or faith driven or anything like that. I think the fact that he is very much, he fits the OU program to a T in that mold, because, you know, and he skipped a 7-on-7 in camps for church, and his visit was a day after Easter, and you know that probably resonated. Everything how OU's ran resonated with him. Due to that, I think that was another thing that was very in OU's favor as far as that goes with Homosigo. So I do want to also add that Peyton Kirkland just texted me, and he will be in Norman Thursday at 6 p.m. So for you people that want to go to the airport, go for it, I guess.
You know who else is going to be in town this weekend? Gavin Sawchuk.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will. He will be in town.
Does that make him the last ever visitor in the class of 2022?
No, because Gentry will be there.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yes, it's a dead
Gentry
heat between those two.
Yep, those two are going to fight it out to see who. Well, and I'm guaranteeing Jacob Sexton will be there.
Yeah, that's probably true. And maybe Jaden Rowe shows up.
I'm probably right. I bet they all show up.
Yeah.
So yeah,
honestly.
I bet the 3 in-state guys and Sawchuk will be there. I wouldn't be shocked. I wonder if Taylor's going to be there too. Need to hit up his dad. His dad probably watching this, honestly. The other thing is yeah, what's up, Mike? And hello. We'll say hello to one Mr. LeBlanc. Who
all the celebrity shout outs here at the end.
Ricardo will always text us and say, hey, I'm watching y'all, you know. So, or I'm just now getting to watch your YouTube live. So I always tell him I'll give him a shout out just because I know he always tells me when he watches. So I'm not sure if Derek LeBlanc, though, will be in town. He was supposed to. They've had some problems getting a plane flight back. They have a place to stay. That's not the issue. The plane flight, the tickets with the inflation and all that's been kind of a deal. But they already had they're ready to roll from May 31st through June 5th. So that's still in the works. Another 5-day visit, 6-day visit is in the works for them, May and June. So that's still good news on that front for Oklahoma. He will also be camping at OU. So I believe Peyton Kirkland will be coming back that weekend as well with the LeBlancs. So that's good news for OU if they're trying to get them out of the state of Florida. Jordan Raynaud, true or false, did he try to commit silently? I think commit is too much. I think he gave them a pretty good idea that they are in a really good spot for him. Now, he's also been to Alabama over the last weekend. Some people feel that Alabama now leads. look, if he shows up to the OU spring game and shows up to that champion barbecue like his dad told me they're going to, and I'm going to recheck with his dad to make sure and see if they're still coming up this weekend before we actually report that as 100% fact. But if that happens, I'm still leaning towards Oklahoma with Jordan Rainlaw, unless something just dramatically flips on its end. Because just as he got to Alabama, I guess I saw on Twitter, he got an OU one too. So I thought that was interesting. And from somebody that actually covers the state of Texas. So, and Nick Harris from the Rivals camp. Nick does a really good job, by the way. Worked for 247 for a long time. Really good person. Hung out with him this weekend down in Durant too. So, yeah. Oh, and I want to tell you something. Markel Johnson from Edmond Memorial, folks, put on a show playing with Sooner 7 this weekend. Put on a show. If he can fix some things personally, school-wise, and he goes to the OU camp this summer, which he's going to, and performs halfway decent, I fully expect an offer to show up.
Wow.
But it's up to him. It's up to him. He has to figure some things out and fix some things. So, but he's got to finish this semester strong, fix some things from previous years, and also go and do well in camp. But he's taking the right steps. He's a guy that is going to be very much in the mold of Jordan Ukes. He's going to be very much in the mold of, trying to think of another, Robert Spears Jennings, of those safeties that kind of always blow up on the OK prep scene and end up being big names. He has that type of potential because the frame's there, everything about him. When you look at him, when you watch him play, when you watch him move, man, he's a football player. He is a football player, and he's good. He does everything.
I gotta bring this up, Brandon, because this just hit my my Twitter feed. Jeremiah Smith is going to be at Oklahoma tomorrow.
Is that what he just texted me? Because I totally ignored it.
Well, that could be the number 3 player in the entire.
Yeah, he linked to me. He linked to me his tweet. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I just saw it in the middle of our live, and I was like, well, I'll get back to him here in a minute. And I saw it was a link, and I was just thinking he has an edit or something he wants me to retweet or something like that. No, he's visiting. Good catch. Glad you saw that. Yeah. Yeah, he texted me that 21 minutes ago. Crazy. Okay. Well, that's good news. 2024.
I think that's how we land the plane with a flourish right there.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're not on OU Insider, I know we didn't get to all the questions today. Look, post spring. So we're going to do a post game podcast after the spring game. And so we're going to treat it like it's season game. So we're going to do, we might do a pregame YouTube live. Parker and I will do it like we do during the season. We'll do a pregame YouTube live. We'll do a post-game YouTube live, and then we'll do a full podcast afterwards. And they'll be quick. The YouTube lives will only be like 15, 20 minutes long at most. Okay. Maybe only 10 minutes long. Just kind of to get you all through, kind of set up the scene for those that can't be there, and then set up the post-game scene for those after the press conference. We'll get into what we talked about, who said what, who did this, who did that, who most impressed, all that type of stuff. Then we are going to roll over, and we're going to have a podcast that we'll have out later that night or Monday morning for the post-game part. On top of that, we are going to have tons of recruiting and spring game information for you guys on OU Insider VIP. We've got people helping us. It's going to be a big deal. Like, we've got some things in the works for you guys to make it worth your while. So make sure you guys, whether it's free, whether it's VIP, that you guys are tuned in to OU Insider, whether you're following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it doesn't matter. We're going to make sure you see all the updates, all the news, all the notes, all the stories. They're going to be posted on those platforms, and you're going to be able to come to it. And if you're not a VIP member, perfect time to sign up. Seriously, perfect time to sign up. Go for it. What do you got?
Yeah, just one more little bombshell to drop before we get off the air here. I was just exchanging texts with Jeremiah Smith. He's not the only one coming tomorrow. Josiah Trader is too, the number 4 player in the 2024 class. So Oklahoma is hosting the top 2 wideouts in the nation in 2024 tomorrow.
There you go, folks. Boom.
Boom.
Boom. Boom. Thank you for responding to that text. I'll respond to him after this. It feels like such a jerk right now. I do, man. But I was talking and I totally forgot after I read it. Like just saw his notification. Anyways, yeah. Look, perfect time to look. NFL draft is coming along. We're gonna do some. I think we're gonna do some half price. If not, I know we're doing a free day during the NFL draft. Plus, I think maybe a 75% off or 60% off VIP. I know OU Insider. We're going to have starting Wednesday through Tuesday. We are going to have 50% off on OU Insider VIP. So instead of paying $108, you can get OU Insider for like 53 something, 53.60 something to that extent. So it's a really, really good deal. You won't get Paramount Plus. If you sign up right now for $75, because we still got the 30% thing going, you get Paramount Plus with it. So for $75, you get like $218 worth of access. So it's worth it. Paramount Plus is awesome. A lot of streaming content. You get all the SEC stuff down the line. Considering OU is going to the SEC, you get lots of live sports, lots of movies, lots of great TV shows. 1883. You're going to get the 1930 show that's coming out. That's the post 1883 portion, and these are all prequels to Yellowstone. All sorts of the Star Trek stuff. I mean, if you want to watch anything that's related to Viacom, you get it with OU Insider. Plus, you get to go visit all 250 247 sites, which is huge. Huge. You can go visit their VIP boards. You get all that. And I mean, look, it is worth it. Now, if you sign up for the half off, you don't get it. You have to wait a year, and then you automatically get grandfathered into Paramount Plus because you will pay the full price. So, or the $75. So I think that's how that works. So either way, it's a great deal. Or if you just want to try us for a month, go ahead and do it. $1, $9.95 afterwards. We'd love to see it. We've grown a whole bunch, like to the extent like that we have more travel budget and all that stuff that we've never had. And we've got more equipment coming in for YouTube stuff. I mean, we're working on all sorts of stuff for you guys to make OU Insider as top-notch as possible. We're working on some NIL stuff. We're working on all kinds of stuff. So the more you guys support us, the more we can do for you all, and we want to do for you all. So we look forward. We're at the largest member that we've ever been. We're at the largest April, like as far as traffic that we've ever done. And it's all thanks to you all. You guys are the 100% the reason why. And we cannot thank you guys enough. I say it every time, and we 100% mean it. We can't thank you guys enough for everything you all do for us. So $1 for the first month, $9.95 afterwards if you want to go month to month, or you can sign up right now. It'll be $75. We'll get you a whole year, plus you get Paramount Plus on top of it. And on top of that, you can wait a couple of days and you can get 50% off, or you can wait till the NFL draft and get 60% off or 75%. I can't remember how it is, but either way, we want to see you guys on OU Insider VIP. Hope to see you guys. Tell us when you sign up. That way we can acknowledge it. And we love to acknowledge those type of things.
I got one last thing, Brandon.
Goodness.
Those of you that aren't already listeners, those of you that don't already listen on a regular basis to the OU Insider Under the Visor podcast, this week's one is going to be one that you're going to want to listen to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
We'll have a special guest, and he's a fella that y'all will want to hear from on several important topics relating to Oklahoma football. He is, let's just say, an authority figure.
Yep, past and present, and I don't think he's going to hold back. So I hope it'll be interesting for you guys. We'll just leave it at that. So, so make sure you tune into all that. Thank you guys once again for listening to this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor YouTube Live. For Parker Thune, my name is Brandon Drumm. You guys have a blessed night.